Well, hello, my dear Ray-Kon here. Today we're talking about the Ray-Kon decks, one of the very interesting concepts that Bushiroad has been introducing for quite a bit. And there's a lot of good things about the concept that I really enjoyed. And even from the get-go, I was just like, I'm in. And when they came out, I was like, oh yeah, this is really good. But there are a lot more problems with how these icon decks were designed compared to the good, at least for the health of like how the game is meant to play. Now let's break down the good, the bad, and the straight up frustrating things of the icon decks. Right? Let's get started. So first off, why the concept is great. On paper, icon decks have solved a lot of the problems that the games just have in standard. It is pretty easy deck building because everything revolves around that specific icon. Deck building is incredibly straightforward. No more name typing, meaning the designers don't have to awkwardly type down card effects to specific names. And a closed archetype, and it's totally self-contained ecosystem. No outside decks can just steal or abuse their cards, so you must have that specific icon for the cards to even function. And the grade 3's flexibility, which is one of the best appeals of this strat. You can actually run alternative grade 3 cards, grade 3 Vanguards, to switch up your game strategy mid-game without losing on your persona right. That part feels amazing. Meaning that if you're in a situation where this card in particular, if Overlord is not working out for you, or you just don't have the enough firepower to make Overlord just hit it as hard as you can, then you can just switch out to Vortex Dragon. Or if you're using the Aishi icon, you can switch out from going from King of Knights Alpha to having a fully restanding board with Soul Saber Dragon. And the fact that these grade 3 also functions as shield makes it so these cards aren't fully just dead cards. They have an alternative use. That is really good. I love this flexibility. But there is some very disappointing things about this. This is the first disappointment I have with it, which is that sadly, it being a closed ecosystem is a double-edged sword, meaning that all 100% of their cards are something that no other deck can run it, even if a certain deck really needed like some of the mechanics that are meant to work in this deck. Sadly, they just don't function fully. Well, not all the cards don't function fully. Thankfully, Leg Maiden Li N tends to be a very functional card. It's just another discard fodder that when placed on the board, you can just draw a card. Sadly, it still doesn't solve a lot of the problem that a lot of these cards just won't function in other decks. And kind of sucks because I've had some pretty interesting things I wanted to try out, but sadly, if I don't have an Aichi icon, I just can't straight up use it. But sadly, that's not the worst problem. The biggest offender is the turn 1 problem. And it basically means that right now, if you're using the Aichi icon or the Kai icon or the Ren icon, a lot of these decks just fully function from the get-go if you're going first. If you go first with these decks, you're starting in a position where your opponent, most likely, if he does not have anything incomparable like that, like running a icon deck against you, then you're practically in the back. You're already in the back foot because most of their abilities, they're incredibly strong abilities, just function straight up without you needing to be grade 3. And it sometimes feels incredibly infuriating. Let's start off with it's incredibly frustrating. First off, let's start with grade 2. Grade 2 turns, they can create a fully functioning board and have some minimal loss. And with obviously tinkering with months of happening of people just trying out strategies, trying out cards, then everybody is able to maximize. It's like, yeah, this is the cards that I'm able to just turn in grade 2 and just make fully functioning boards able to rush the opponent. And then in grade 3, usually at that point in the game, a lot of decks don't have a lot of retire options or ability to control the opponents. So a lot of the time, these decks just can do that without little penalty. And if the penalty would be like dropping cards at that point in the game early on, unless you're able to rush them as well and also get cards back, then you are incredibly in the back foot of the game. And as soon as you start getting into grade 3, then the alternative grade 3 rides are there. And most of the alternative grade 3 rides are restanders. So they are able to fully restand the board fully. And basically, if you weren't at 4 or 5 damage now, if you're at 4 or 5 damage, which usually against these decks, it's a very high chance you are. And if you're not, you practically don't have a hand in order to work with. So it truly means that you don't have a way to just get back into the game, and it feels so infuriating just dealing with that the entire time. Added to the fact that a lot of these decks also have multiple options, is like their retire options have can self sustain themselves by getting a lot more power, or by adding certain cards in their strategy. They're able to just alternate and prepare yourself. Something I've seen in the IGI content example is I've seen Battle Sister Coco. That is an incredibly good card that even if your opponent is able to get a 10k power boost, Battle Sister Coco is designed so that if a trigger is being seen by your opponent, then she's also able to get an extra 10k power, which is but that even when being rushed or not being rushed, it's just like it feels the pressure is too strong coming from these decks, and it's just an unfavorable matchup just from they started and they're just already kicking your butt. And that's without saying that if they're going second is a bad option. Even if they're going second, it's more of the same. They just can't attack first turn, but that doesn't mean anything. They still have the incredibly fast potential of making a board that can just rush you, punish you if you have throw things in board. It's a sad situation. Sadly, my conclusion with these ride decks is that while they had a very good potential to streamline the game, and they still have a very streamlined deck approach in deck building, but sadly, right now the balancing is too aggressive and just too oppressive for anybody facing these decks. So it just doesn't feel good to play against these decks unless you have a deck of similar quality to be able to play against their power level, or have a deck that has just gotten a humongous amount of support and is able to already just play in that playing field. With that said, that's all what we have for today. What do you think you're ready for coming? So what do you think guys think? Do you love the design, or are you also tired of losing matches because you just lost the coin toss and that's just how the game goes? Let me know in the comment. With that said, I'll need you comments to go back to your cells, and I'll see you on the next roll call. Bye now.